Hey y'all, it is Cowgirl Sierra, and I'm going to be reading Alone in the Forest Part 2. Now, this story is a long story, so I'm going to separate it into a few videos. So, let's go. Steve, Jim, Ed, Cecil, the patroller, Ryan, Adam, Alicia, Sierra, Diana, Kiara, Haley, and Brent were just waking up. The sunlight was shining brightly through the windows. Sierra walked downstairs to make breakfast. She was making sausage biscuits, gravy, and coffee. The others were watching television while Sierra was making breakfast. A news broad came on from the night before. It was a message from beyond. I guess you could say it was like aliens were giving us a message from out there in space. But Steve changed the channel. "Hey, leave the channel alone," Sierra said to Steve. "No," Steve sarcastically. "Stephen Lynn Keith, leave the channel alone," Sierra seriously said. "Okay, geez Louise," Steve replied. He flipped back to the news channel, but the report was over. "See? It's over," Steve said. "Whatever," Sierra replied. "Sierra Cheyenne Moore, you better care," Steve said. Sierra just flipped him off jokingly. So Steve flipped through the channels again. Soon breakfast was ready. "All right, everyone, breakfast is ready. Eat her up," Sierra hollered. Steve, Brent, Jim, Ed, Ryan, Cecil, and the patroller walked over to the table to ate their favorite meal. They were listening to music. Ryan, Adam, and Steve always teased Sierra. Sierra knows they were only joking, so she didn't mind. The patroller was off for the day, so Sierra was going to work alone. Before she left for work, Brent stopped her and asked as she walked out on the porch. It was still early in the morning. It was also winter. "Babe, you better be careful today," Brent said. "I will," Sierra replied. "Be careful when driving and call if you need anything," Brent told her. "Okay, I will. I love you, babe," Sierra responded. "I love you too, sweetheart," Brent whispered. They kissed, and Sierra walked to her car and drove to work. When Sierra got to the edge of the forest, she saw a figure standing by one of the trees. She didn't pay any attention to it. She went to the gas station because the car needed gas. She walked inside to get a drink and to pay for the gas. She locked the car and took her keys in with her. She is a smart woman. She doesn't trust anyone, especially whenever she is alone. After she walked out, she jumped in the car and finished the drive to the police station. When she pulled up to the station, she noticed some of her co-workers were already there. She grabbed her purse and walked in. "Good morning, y'all," Sierra said as she walked to her desk. "Good morning, Sierra," her co-worker said. She opened up her laptop and started working. About an hour later, her cell phone rang. It was Ed. She answered. "What's wrong, Ed?" Sierra asked. "You need to come back," Ed said. "Okay, I'll be there in a few," Sierra replied without even questioning what was wrong. "All right, see you soon." Ed spoke by, Sierra said. She told her co-workers that she would be back in a little while. She grabbed her purse and jumped back in the car and drove off. She got to the edge of the forest and noticed that same figure she saw earlier was not there anymore. She sped to the cabin. She pulled up and Ed was sitting on the porch. "Sierra, thank the Lord you got here when you did," Ed said. "Why?" Sierra asked. "Because we've been seeing someone darting around the house," Ed replied. "When I left for work earlier, I saw a figure standing by a tree. I'm not sure if that has anything to do with this," Sierra replied. "Wow," Ed replied. They went inside to discuss what was happening. They were talking about how Sierra saw something in the trees when she left for work. They all thought that the sounds they were hearing were based around the figure Sierra saw. After they finished discussing, they heard the sounds again. The patroller, Sierra, and Jim got their guns ready. The three went outside while the others walked out on the porch. They separated. Sierra and Jim went towards the road, while the patroller went deeper in the forest. Ed and Cecil went after the patroller so he had backup. Steve ran after Sierra and Jim so they could have one more person as backup. Excuse me. While they were investigating, the sounds were more faint. So they all came back to the cabin. After they all reunited at the cabin, Sierra told them that she had to go back to work. She grabbed her purse, kissed Brent, and jumped in the car and drove back to work. When she pulled up to the road, she saw a person lying in the middle of the road. She got out of her car and moved the body to the edge of the road, then she drove to work. When she pulled up to the station, all of her co-workers were there. She walked in and went to her desk again. She started working. About an hour later, the phone rang. It startled Sierra, but she answered. The person on the other end was just silent, so Sierra hung up. The phone rang again. She answered. This time, there was heavy breathing on the other end. Sierra must have said hello at least 100 times. Then, the person hung up. Soon, Sierra noticed one of the prisoners that they keep in the station. It was a man that she didn't recognize. When the man noticed her, he gave her a wink. She just turned her head and kept working. The man walked to the cell door and hollered for her. She didn't move at first, but the guy hollered for her again. So she just turned to face him. He gestured for her to come to his cell. Sierra, since the officers have to listen to the inmates once they have arrested them at this police station, Sierra walked to the guy's cell. You are very beautiful, the man said. Thanks, Sierra scaredly said. You don't have to be afraid. I won't hurt you, the man pleaded. But Sierra didn't believe him. Listen, how about you sit back down and don't bother me again, Sierra told him. No, the man said in his creepy voice. Okay, whatever, Sierra said as she walked back to her desk. She finished working. After she finished her work, she clocked out and headed out to her car. She grabbed her purse and jumped in the car. She drove off. This was late at night, so she was a little scared. When she jumped in her car, she called Brent, letting him know that she was just leaving work. He was relieved because he thought that she was going to spend the night at the police station. She drove back home. While on the road, she noticed a car following her, which isn't unusual, but then the car started to tail grab her. She sped up a little bit. She had to drive past the edge of the forest because of the person tail grabbing her. She pulled over in a little space and turned around. She headed back to the edge of the forest and headed to the house. When she pulled up to the cabin, Brent was sitting on the porch. He ran out to hug her. After hugging her, they went into the cabin to go to bed. They went to their bedroom and went to bed. They finally got to bed after an hour. Steve checked on them a lot that night. He checked on them more than other nights. He was just paranoid. Sierra told Steve to not worry about them, but he still checked on them. The next morning, Sierra and Diana were the only ones up because it was still early. Both of them were in the kitchen when they noticed the back door was open a little. Sierra grabbed her gun and told Diana to go upstairs to the patroller. Diana ran upstairs to the patroller's room and woke him up. When the patroller heard his door open, he grabbed his gun, but when he saw Diana's face, he calmed down. What's wrong? The patroller asked. Well, Sierra and I were in the kitchen and noticed the back door was open. Sierra grabbed her gun and told me to come up here to wake you up, Diana replied. Okay, tell her I'll get dressed, then I'll be down. The patroller said, okay, Diana replied. Diana ran back downstairs to find Sierra in the living room. She was freaked out because there was a streak of blood on the floor. The blood was leading to the basement door. The patroller ran downstairs. When he saw the blood, they all walked to the basement door. The patroller opened it. Sierra was behind Diana. The patroller told the girls to stay up here. The patroller yelled for Sierra. Diana, there's a gun in the pantry. Go grab it. Sierra told her. All right, Diana said as Sierra ran down the basement stairs. Look, the patroller said as he pointed to something. That something was a dead body. They didn't know who the body belonged to. They called for backup and an ambulance. Suddenly, they heard the scream of Diana coming from the kitchen. Sierra ran upstairs while the patroller stayed in the basement. She saw the person that killed the person they found in the basement strangling Diana. Sierra ran up behind him and knocked him out with the butt of her gun. Thank God you got up here, Diana said. No need for thanking me. It's my job, Sierra said. Yeah, I guess, Diana replied. Backup in the ambulance showed up within 20 minutes. They pulled up silently so they wouldn't wake anyone else up. They ran in. Where's the patroller? One of the officers asked. In the basement, Sierra said as she pointed to the basement. They ran downstairs and got the body out of there. They examined the body in the ambulance. They asked Sierra, Diana, and the patroller if they knew the person after they found out who it was. They all said no, so they took the body to the graveyard that was in the forest. They dug a 6-foot deep grave and put the body in the ground. After they finished, they went back to the station and to the hospital. The patroller went back to bed because it was 4 a.m. Sierra and Diana stayed up for a little while longer. They were fixing breakfast. Sierra had to go to work as a news reporter at 7 a.m. The patroller had to go to work at 8:30 a.m. Sierra and Diana were watching TV when they heard someone getting up. They just soon found out it was Steve. He came downstairs and got some food. He sat down next to Sierra and ate. Good morning, Steve. Sierra said. Good morning, girlie, Steve said. You enjoying your breakfast? Diana asked. Yup, Steve replied. They watched a commercial. The commercial was about eating healthy, so Diana changed the channel. They didn't find anything they wanted to watch. So Sierra opened her phone and opened Spotify. She had a few podcasts that she loves. They were all scary. She put one of them on, called Female Criminals by Parcast Network. So that's what they listened to. Why do you listen to this stuff? Steve asked. Because that's how I get motivated for work and for when I write stories, Sierra responded. Okay, Steve whispered. They went back to listening. Soon everyone else was up. It was around 6:30 a.m. Sierra started getting ready for work. She left at 6:45 a.m. It only takes 15 minutes for her to get to the news station from the cabin. She told Brent she would be back at 1 p.m. At 1. Can I come with you to see what you do? Brent asked. Sure, but you can't be around me whenever I bring the news, Sierra told him. Okay, I'll go get ready, Brent said. I'll be in the car, Sierra replied. Sierra, you be careful, Steve said. I will, Sierra replied. Okay, I love you, girl, Steve said. I love you too, Sierra whispered. Sierra grabbed her purse and headed to the car. Soon, Brent ran out to the car. He jumped in and they drove to the news station. When they got to the edge of the forest, they saw a figure standing in the tree line. They didn't think anything of it, so they drove off. Soon the same figure was walking in their lane. Sierra sped up a little. Soon they pulled into the news station parking lot. Before they went in, she called her boss, telling him that she brought her boyfriend. He didn't care if she brought the entire U.S. military. Alright, her boss. Alright, time to film, the producer announced. Alright, baby, you can go over there and sit while I bring the news, Sierra said. Okay, good luck, Brent said. Thanks, Sierra whispered. And now we have Cowgirl Sierra this morning, the producer said. Thanks, Ashley. Today we have a creepy story to start the day. Late last night it was reported that there was a murderer running around. Be on extra lookout if you live in the middle of town and in the forest. We will have more information after the break, Sierra said. Cut, producer Ashley announced. I'm gonna go to the restroom really quickly, Sierra told Ash. Alright, be back in 3 minutes, Ashley replied. Fast forward 3 minutes, Sierra was back in her reporter chair and was ready to film again. And now we are back with Cowgirl Sierra, producer Ashley announced. Thanks, Ash. Now we have more info on the murderer. He mainly targets women between the ages of 20 and 40. He also targets men between the ages of 30 and 45. He doesn't usually target children, but he does occasionally. He prefers children between the ages of 5 and 10. He does not target babies. He is 5 foot 6 inches in height. He wears a black hat, orange shoes, blue jeans, and a white t-shirt. He also wears glasses. He drives a 1994 Ford F-150 pickup truck. The number of reported victims is around 15 people. After the break, we will fill you in with more info, Sierra said. Cut, producer Ashley yelled. Babe, that was really good, Brent said. Thank you, baby. I've only been doing it for 20 years, Sierra bragged. Well, you're really good, Brent replied. Thanks, Sierra whispered. I'm gonna go back to my seat, Brent said. Alright, we're getting ready to film again anyhow, so... Sierra replied. Alright, Brent whispered. Now we're back with Cowgirl Sierra, producer Ashley said. Thanks, Ash. We now have more info on some of the murder's victims. The first woman he killed was known as Amanda Childers. She was 24 years of age. She was found behind a local bar. The weapon used to kill her was a butcher knife. Next victim was a man by the name of Christian Del Grosso. He was only 20 years old and he was killed with a machete. He was found near the forest. One more victim was a child known as Alicia Parker. She was only 5 years old when she was killed with a .22 semi-automatic rifle. The murderer was last seen near the bar. If you see the murderer, please call the number on your screen. That's all for your morning news. I will be back for the afternoon news. Have a great day, folks, Sierra said. Cut, producer Ashley yelled. Babe, you should bring me to work with you more often, Brent said. Oh, why? Sierra asked. Because I like hearing you live and I can learn a lot from the stuff you say, Brent replied. I can't bring you here every day because my boss won't let me. He only lets me bring guests every once in a blue moon, Sierra replied. Oh, okay, Brent whispered. Sierra had another show called The Sierra Show. That was where she let her family and friends, that's where she let her fans know when she released new songs. And she performs her new releases and some of the older ones too. That show makes her a lot of money. Sierra is worth about $18.5 million according to the New York Times back in 2019. After she delivers the morning news, she drives to another studio to shoot the Sierra Show. Alright, babe, we have to go to another studio for my show now, Sierra told him. Alright, let's go. Brent said, we will be back in a few hours, Sierra hollered as they walked out of the door. Okay, Ashley yelled back. They jumped in a car and drove about 10 minutes down the road to the studio of the Sierra Show. She had many other stars come on her show. Stars like Morgan Wallen, Carrie Underwood, Miranda Lambert, and Jason Aldean. When they got there, they ran in because they were running late. Alright, babe, you're gonna do like back at the news station. Just find a chair and sit off to the side. But I'm actually going to announce you to come on the air so I can introduce you to my fans, Sierra instructed. Alright, good luck, baby, Brent said. Alright, Sierra said. She walked out on set and began to speak. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Sierra Show. Today I have a special guest, but I'm not going to introduce them yet because I have a new song. It is not released yet, but it will be released in about a week. It is called Love is Key. This song is a song I wrote about my boyfriend. He had a troubled life, and ever since I met him back in 2008, he has told me pretty much everything about his whole life. And finally, I wrote a song about his life and our love. I made the music video for the song, but I have not released it yet. It'll be posted either tomorrow or the next day. I hope y'all like it, Sierra said. Cut, producer John yelled. Alright, Sierra, for the next part of the show, you're going to announce for Brent to come on out on set so you can introduce him to your fans, producer John said. Alright, that's what I planned on doing anyhow, Sierra replied. Okay, so we're in the same mindset today, I see. John said, yeah, I guess, Sierra responded. Soon they recorded again. Alright, folks, now I'm going to bring out my boyfriend so I can introduce him to y'all and talk a little bit more about my song, Love is Key. And here he is. Come on out, babe, Sierra said as Brent walked out on stage. Hi, everyone, Brent said. So this is Brent. He is my boyfriend of 12 years. For the people that know me personally, you may know I have talked about him a lot. But I never brought him onto my show within the show's 15-year history. I know we have only been dating for 12 years, but still, in that time, I never brought him on the show. Brent is 5'3" and 180 pounds. We met in a little restaurant in my hometown of Cy, Ohio back in 2008. We locked eyes and started talking. Soon we were dating. And ever since the day of January 15th, 2008, we have been dating. I'm going to let him talk now, Sierra said. Thanks, babe. Ever since we met, I knew she was the one. At the time, I didn't know that she was famous. I just thought she knew all the people that were surrounding her. A few months into dating, I found her Spotify playlist, and it was just about her songs. I was amazed at her singing skills, and I asked her if she wrote her own songs, and she said yeah, and I was just in shock. Alright, we got time to read one more page. I didn't know that she was that good of a singer and a performer. I'm so glad she brought me onto the show after so long, Brent said. Alright, let's talk more about my new song, Love is Key. It is off my next album called Ain't Life Funny. That album is currently in the recording studio waiting for me to record all the songs. Love is Key is the very first song on that album. This song is about Brent's life. He actually requested a song about his life. Then one day, I sat down at the kitchen table and wrote the song. It is currently in the recording studio waiting on me to put the music to the lyrics. Brent's life wasn't the easiest, and he was depressed until we met. I noticed him sitting at a table in the corner of the restaurant, and I walked up to him and sat down, and that's how we met. One of the songs on this one of the songs on this new album, I am collaborating with Beyonce, Rihanna, and Alicia Keys. That song is called A Life in Heaven. I am usually a country artist, but I decided to shift my music into a different direction. Excuse me. I know some of my fans like pop music, and most of my fans love country music. So on that song, I thought I would make it a pop song. Anyways, back to Love is Key. Love is Key is dedicated to Brent. One day I noticed he was depressed, and I sat down and talked to him about why he looked depressed, and he told me about his life, and I decided to write a song about it. This is where Love and Key came into my mind. I sat down and thought of the words to use, and I finally finished the song about a month ago. I'm not going to go into detail about Brent's life on the show, but once the song is out, it will talk about his life in a lot more detail. I'm afraid this is where the show will have to end for today. I will see y'all tomorrow. Bye, Sierra said. Bye, everyone, Brent said. Cut, producer John hollered. That was great, you guys. John told Brent and Sierra. Well, thank you. I think Brent has been learning from me. Sierra said, oh yeah, you did good, Brent. John replied. Thanks, Brent responded. Soon they jumped in the car and headed back to the news station for the afternoon news. They were running late. They ran in and Sierra got ready to film. All right, Cowgirl Sierra's back to bring you the afternoon news, producer Ashley announced. Thanks, Ashley. We have more victims reported. The first victim was Madison Fuller. She was only 13. She was killed by a stab wound. The next victim was Sienna Black. She was 24 and she was killed using a 22 pistol. The last victim was Austin Barker. He was only 14. He was killed using a knife. Those are the new reported victims. The murderer was last seen running in the forest on Highway 105. Be on extra lookout if you live near or on this road, especially if you live in the forest like me. That's the news for this afternoon. I will be back this evening for the evening news, Sierra said. Cut, producer Ashley yelled. That was great, Ashley said. Thanks, Ash, Sierra replied. Now we can go to the store, Sierra said. All right, let's go, babe, Brent replied. They walked out of the door and went to the store. They got everything they needed and went to the gas station. Brent filled up the tank while Sierra went inside to get drinks and to pay for gas. She came back out with some pop. She knows what Brent's favorite pop was. That was Pepsi. She likes Mountain Dew. She came back out with some pop. They went back to the cabin to drop off their groceries. They pulled up to the cabin about an hour later. Steve, Jim, Ed, and Cecil were sitting on the porch. They had a lot of groceries, so they helped take the groceries into the cabin. A few minutes after hauling the groceries and to unpack them, Sarah and Brent were back on the road. They went to the local park to help set up for one of Sarah's concerts later that night. And that is where I'm going to stop the story for right now, and I will upload more videos of me continuing reading this story, and Cowgirl Sierra is out.